Bob Cusack is the editor-in-chief at The Hill and joins us now to discuss this and many other things. Bob, again, we see this break now at the State Department over Obama's foreign policy in Syria. Knowing, if nothing else, that Hillary Clinton is the former Secretary of State, what might we now see Donald Trump do with it all?
Well, in the wake of Orlando attacks, obviously there's a lot more emphasis on foreign policy, and it's something that Donald Trump thinks is his strength. And it is a bit of, I think, a problem for Hillary Clinton because she doesn't have a succinct message of her big victories at the State Department. She's focused on that she was for going after Osama bin Laden. But when you look at Syria and remember the president's promise and the red line, if you cross the red line on chemical weapons in Syria, I'm going to go after Assad. Both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama have said that Assad has to go, and of course he's not yet gone. So this split at the State Department is a big deal, and it's a big problem for John Kerry, and probably an advantage for Republicans who've had some, and Donald Trump in particular, who's had a rough 3 weeks.
We've seen this memo then leaked. Obviously, the second term of the president is winding down. 7 months or so remain. Is the leaking of the memo then perhaps seen as a message to be sent to the next president rather than the sitting one?
I think it's probably both, and clearly I think, Josh, it indicates some frustration at the State Department and the White House and the Pentagon on a variety of things during the Obama administration have been at odds. And I think you're going to see more of that with this lame duck president. You're going to see things said, documents leaked, books written after he's left about his foreign policy, critics of his foreign policy. Now, this is not abnormal for any president, that there's always going to be people at the Pentagon and the State Department who are upset at the White House. But I do think this is going to be part of a trend.
One critic, notably to be sure, Donald Trump, we heard it again in the aftermath of the Orlando massacre, insinuating perhaps that the president sympathizes to a degree with terrorists. Also, this has now put gun control and the raging debate about it back front and center with the American people. I wonder what to make of the comments that Donald Trump made just last night, essentially accusing Hillary Clinton of wanting to get rid of the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I think certainly, I mean, the Second Amendment is something that Donald Trump talks about a lot. He thinks it's a way to rev up his base. But going after Obama as a sympathizer of terrorists, Republicans privately and publicly also were upset that Trump had gone too far. So I do think Republicans seem to be backing down a bit. Trump meeting with the NRA about if you're on the no-fly list that you shouldn't be able to get a gun. That issue polls extremely well for Democrats. So there could be some type of deal on that. It remains to be seen, but the Orlando news has certainly changed the dynamic on that legislation.
I also want to play some sound for you. Yesterday, Paul Ryan had a press conference. A reporter asked him about Donald Trump's media ban, specifically on the Washington Post. But the conversation quickly pivots to Donald Trump's rather harsh words for Republican leaders such as Paul Ryan. Let's take a listen.
Don't think I've ever heard of it before. I think that's a new one. I don't know a whole lot about it. I hope and assume that this will get worked out.
Hasn't so far.
Who's with the Post here, by the way? Is DeBonis here or no? Kane's here. Okay. Last question.
Will you?
Yeah, here's our credentials.
If you,
DeBonis, where's
DeBonis?
there?
This morning, Mr. Speaker, you rolled out your plan to rein in executive power. Mr. Trump yesterday said this, addressing congressional leaders like yourself: be quiet, just please be quiet, don't talk. What is your reaction to that, and how do you have any confidence that this is a guy who's going to have respect for separation of power?
You can't make this up sometimes. I'll just say we represent a separate but equal branch of government. We just spent the morning talking about how valuable the separation of powers is and how we're trying to restore the entire principle of self-government, of government by consent. We will lose our freedoms in this country, including all of the Bill of Rights, if we don't robustly defend the separation of powers. And we're going to fight for those rights on behalf of our citizens so that we remain a self-governing people. Let me leave it at that and say, make sure you call your dads this weekend.
So much there, Bob, perhaps to discuss. But first, we've seen Donald Trump then in saying that he was going to meet with the NRA and look to push some legislation or get some support from the group forward. That is a break from a Republican position. We've seen a breaking down now, perhaps, of the financial apparatus that the Trump campaign had sought to have in concert with the RNC. And then we just had a reference to some comments made by Donald Trump, even as the speaker seems to say so much with just his tone and tenor. What to make of it all?
Well, it's an impossible spot for Ryan, who obviously is not a fan of Donald Trump, but publicly has to support him, as well as Mitch McConnell. I mean, Josh, I've never seen anything like this. You have Mitch McConnell talking about the Republican nominee, saying he doesn't know much about the issues, obviously. So, and Paul Ryan being told by Donald Trump to be quiet. I mean, this is remarkable, and it shows the tension within the GOP. And we're a month away from the Republican convention, and it doesn't look like this party is unifying anytime soon.
Bob, it also, his comments there hearken to those in the aftermath of a previous spat between these two men, where Paul Ryan mentioned that helping to lead the drive to protect the Republican congressional majorities is frankly front and center for him. Do you have a sense, perhaps, that Paul Ryan increasingly believes, perhaps, that that's a best case scenario come November?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the big picture, is that the Senate is up for grabs, and Democrats now have the advantage with Donald Trump sinking in the polls over the last couple weeks. And then you look at the House, largest majority in 80 years, and now some Democrats think they can possibly pick up the 30 seats that they need. I think that's still a lot of seats, and some Democrats say privately that they can't get there. But they want to make sure that they at least have one chamber of Congress if and when Hillary Clinton is president. And the Senate is, if Hillary Clinton is president, in likelihood the Senate's probably going to flip. So Paul Ryan is justifiably a little nervous about his majority.
Bob Cusack, again, as always, we appreciate the insights, and I know you've got three of your own. An early Happy Father's Day to you, my friend.
Absolutely. Happy Father's Day. Thank you.